Welcome back to Rent a Rod Shop, folks. Well, today I'm going to give you an update on what I've been working on international, but today we're going to see if we can get some seats in this thing. That white pickup in the let's see, was it the last video? I showed you I drug home a '97 extended cab Chevy pickup. In the back of it was a set of 60/40 seats that were in addition to the seats that were in those pickups. So anyway, my young son thinks that those seats would be pretty good in this truck, and I agree with him. They have headrests on them, but the headrests are removable, so I think it would still give the right look. They're kind of a low back. I'll show you here in a second. But as anybody that's tried to do seat swapping with, new trucks, they're usually a little taller than the old ones. The old ones have a high floorboard and a low seat. The new ones seem to have a low floorboard and a high seat. So let me get the camera down and let me show you what we got. All right, so there's the seat, and the problem is the height of the thing. You could put a shorter steering column in there, but that's somewhere around 2 3/4 inches. He's got a Durango that he's driving, and I went out and measured it, and he says it's comfortable, and it's about 8.5 inches. So give or take, we need to drop that seat down about 6 inches. So if we look at the seat frame on the thing, we got about 5 inches right there. So it would appear the most expedient way it would be to drop that floor. You can see this floor rises in the middle over there, but it does that on the factory one too, because that mount is shorter than this mount. All right, I'm going to get this seat out of here, and we're going to lay it on the back and kind of take it apart and scope it out. But at this point, I'm not sure that we can get that seat in there without dropping that floor. Also, I cut the rust out. I put the old dash back in. We decided that, that's the flavor of the old truck. So we're going to put the international dash back in it. I fixed the rust. The windshield, you can see the windshield. I don't know if you've experienced putting in one of these lock rings, but this International may have been the toughest windshield I've ever put in. I don't know. Oh, Dan at DD Speed Shop does those 57s. I expect that those are a pain too. This curvature on this windshield is challenging. All right, let me get this seat out of here. All right, so here's what we got going on here. Looks like Puppy Ralph's found a home over there. We got about 4 3/4 inches here, and we had 2 3/4, so that is 6, 7.5. That's only an inch short of what he was wanting. I'm wondering how close we can scare that. And we're gonna have to shorten these up, but that might be one of those things. Whack those things off and see how much we need to build it up. But I think first pass, I'm going to pull this hinge out. There's a bolt down here, and there's a bolt up here. And we're going to see what we can make of that. there it is. So what I'm thinking is cutting this along here and cutting this along here and taking that center section out and just welding this back up to there, basically to get it as short as possible. Still not sure we're not going to have to cut the floor, but let's do what we can do with this bracket. I forgot to mark I forgot to mark a line on this thing. Alright, so that is the bottom. And it looks like that goes all the way, kind of tapers out, so it's almost like I just need to cut the bottom off of this flange right here and cut this off here and weld that flange right there. Might make it interesting to get the bolts, you know, to get the seat bolts in, but that's what we're gonna do. I've been meaning to say something about the Harbor Freight. These aluminum rulers. When I was doing the rocker, I needed a ruler to, you know, make sure the rocker was going on straight. These aluminum rulers are, well, they're cheap. And you can whack those things off and you haven't lost too much, and you can get a straight edge that's exactly the length you need. So, just a point. All right, well, I need to whack that off. Let me let me get the grinder and get it whacked off, and I'll come back to you. Okay, I got the center whacked out, and let me get the camera down here. All right, so that one is gonna fit right there. And you can see that's tapered, so this wasn't long enough. So that one is going to fit right there. I think I'm going to do it like that. Now, unless we have a captive nut right there, we're not getting a bolt on that thing. So I think what I'll end up doing is putting some ears out the side of this thing and seeing if we can go bolted down. But right now, I'm going to get these tacked up in there, and I'll find a little piece to, you know, fill up the gap. And we're going to bolt it back on that seat. We're going to walk off these ears over here too. And then we're going to set this thing in there, and we're going to see what it looks like. I'm going to put the camera back up on the tripod here. Well, that's probably way more tack than I should have gave it. I didn't take into account this piece right here, right? That's part of the slider, and I'm like, I don't think I ought to cut that down. So I'm gonna have to actually fill in the gap there where I cut it all the way down there. Okay, we'll just have to live with it. Let me get this cooled off, and let me get it back on the seat. While it's cooling, I'm gonna go ahead and whack off this other side over here. Well, that stinks. I'm gonna have to get that seat back. Hook back up. All right. Let me get this thing, toted around there, and let me get it put in. All right. Well, the hump in the transmission is still keeping that far side a little high. Let me get a tape measure and let's have a look at this thing, see how close it is. Well, we weren't too far off. It'll go down another ½ inch or so, maybe a little further. That's not going to be that bad. Let me see if I can get that. I think we're just going to have to cut the floor out. Let me get this seat out of the way and let's have a look at this thing. All right, let's get a straight edge, put it across that hump. Let's see what we're working with here. So, let's see here. A little bit of a hump in the middle there, somewhere around 2½ inches, give or take. You can see the floor starts tilting up right after where this factory seat mount is. So that needs to come down at least to 2½ inches. I guess we could measure that and see how close it actually is. May not be entirely 2½ inches because we cut those legs off pretty short. And these we still got 1½ inch or so. I'm just wondering if I can just cut that hump out right there. Well, it's going to have to be done. That hump sure limits your seat options in this thing. Okay. Well, let me get the grinder out. Now let me cut that out of there. Now let's see what we got. Let's see if that helps us out at all. All right. Let me get back to you. Well, we did it. Let me get that seat and let's see what it looks like. Looks like that the rest of that tunnel's got to come out too. Let me Let me get that cut out. I think I'll just use the Sawzall. There we go. Oh, that's much better. A little wiggly. Well, that works. I'm short. My son's quite a bit taller than I am. I think that will work. And the good news is, you can always space it up. I think that'll work. Now we got to figure out how to fix the floor. All right, let me, I'm gonna have to, crawl my head underneath there. Let me get back with you once we got a plan. All right, guys, I think I have a plan. I don't know if it's a good one or not, but I ran a couple of supports across here, and that stiffened, as you might think. It did a lot of good in terms of stiffening up that floor plan that I may have cut a little bit out of. Anyway, I set the seat in there, and it seems to be square relative to that body line. So what we're going to do now is I cut a piece of metal. And I'm going to crawl under it. We're going to use our, throatless anvil we made to roll that edge over right there. I'm going to crawl under it, and I'm going to mark it out, and then we're going to cut it up and see if we can bend it and weld it in and see if we can set a seat in here. I'm running out of time today. All right, let me crawl under it and let me get it marked, and I'll see you when I got the thing on the table over here. Or actually, I'll see you when I got it on the tailgate. I lost my marks. I'm gonna stick that in there again and see if I can find my bend marks. Let's see if we can get this bent. That's probably too much, but let's go have a look. Yeah, just a little bit too much. Let me get it bent back. Now, I think once we get that in there, that will be close enough. Well, I think I need to get that tacked in there. All right, let me get the welder out, and I'm gonna tack it in there. We'll have to cut it so we can butt weld it. All right, let's see if we can get it positioned in there. Put some tacks on it. Well, let's put the chair back in there and let's see what it looks like. We always hope. Well, looking at it at that angle, it looks like it's tilted up, but I don't believe it is. Let me get a tape measure. Oh, actually, I brought the ruler. No, that's too long. All right, let me get a tape. Oh, it's right there. Probably ought to get my square too. Got about 1 3/8 right there. Let me get around there and measure the other side. Oh, that's pretty close. That is pretty close. All right. Well, folks, I think that seat's going to work out pretty slick. I think my young son's going to be pretty pleased with that. And I'm happy that it doesn't set up, you know, like a lot of the high backs in these old trucks. The headrest sits way above the window in the back, but that one actually sits just a tad lower than the factory seat without the headrest, and the headrest is just, you know, just a little bit above the bottom of the window. So I think that's going to work out pretty slick. I got to weld in the floor pan, but you know, given everything else, that's not a big deal. I'll do the fitsy cut and butt, and we'll get that welded in there and get it shaped and get all the holes plugged up in it. Gonna have to do some work on that transmission tunnel. You know, that removable tunnel that bolts in there. We're gonna have to reshape the back of that so that it will fit in to the. It'll fit back in there. I'll see what my young son wants to do. At this point, it may be better just to build another tunnel and just weld the whole thing in there and not have a removable one. There's plenty of room to get up and around that transmission tunnel, so I don't know how useful it is at this point to have a removable transmission tunnel. And if we make our own, you know, we can shape it and do whatever we need to do. So we'll see what he wants to do on that. In the background, I bought some steel. So I bought, I guess, 48 feet of 2x3 3/16 tubing to make trailing arms. So I am kind of on a tear to get some trailing arms made. I'd like to get that 57, you know, we put that Explorer frame under that 57 pickup. I'd like to get that all settled out and put to bed. 63 is going to need trailing arms too. And I know my 71, it wouldn't hurt to have new ones. So, I don't know if you knew, but if you get polyurethane bushings, and this is true on pretty much all of the polyurethanes I bought, you got to leave the sleeve in for your rubber bushings. If you don't know that, you're going to end up buying a new bushing just so you can tear it up so you can have the sleeve. Anyway, to make those trailing arms, I got some Schedule 80 2-inch pipe. Let's see, no, 1 3/8 I think is what it is. 1 3/8 pipe. Let's see, pipes outside. Oh, I think this is 2-inch. I hate to say it, but I always get confused between pipe and tubing. Well, it's 1 3/4 OD, and it was 1 3/8 ID. Okay, so the polyurethane bushings that you get for the trailing arms, they're stepped. All right, so I don't know if you can see that, but this is a larger diameter than that. And so got my lathe working good enough. So this all goes together, and it does go together. So I've got 8 of those made for the 4 sets of trailing arms I need to make. I think the only piece I've got left is the pipe for the inserts where the U-bolts go through, because, you know, I don't want to clamp against that tubing. We'll weld a piece of pipe in there. Anyway, that's what else we got going on. I'm gonna finish up this seat pan in this thing. I'd really like to get this thing outside. I've told you before, 3 cars in this area is too damn many cars. So I need an open hole so I can spread everything out so we can mush things around and clean some stuff up. Right now, you guys noticed it's just a cat trail working around, but I really didn't have any option with this International sitting here because I didn't have that empty square to move stuff. All right. Well, if you subscribed, I do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, leave a like, and until next time, I'm Random at Random Rod Shop, and we're out of here.